Ultimately, Arsene Wenger was a prisoner at Arsenal, a prisoner with his hands tied behind his back, and he was told just to go on a training ground and keep things going. Arsenal, from 2012, would have cleared the stadium debt. They would have been able to give Arsenal the firepower in terms of transfer money that Arteta has received, would have probably won the league, would have signed Benzema, would have had Mbappe. This video has been brought to you by Fanatics. The reason we didn't go through that process is because of Usmanov. The reason why Arsene Wenger stayed until 2018 is because of Usmanov. Let's do some Arsenal history because people don't understand the history of the arse, okay? Yeah, pause. What you're saying there, Arsene Wenger was not sacked, bro. He was not sacked. Arsene Wenger resigned once an agreement had come into place that Usmanov was selling his shares and KSC could pay off the debt for the stadium. Don't be stupid, blood. They never gave him no ultimatum. What ultimatum? They gave Arsene Wenger an ultimatum, but they give him Mikel Arteta all the time in the world. Does that make sense? Let's take ourselves back to when Arsenal first moved into the Emirates Stadium. When Arsenal first moved into the Emirates Stadium, David Dein approached Peter Hillwood with an idea. The idea was to bring KSE in as a bank. Yeah, nothing more. Nothing more, just a bank. I want to bring this organization in because with the way Man City, Chelsea, and Man United are moving financially, we won't be able to keep up with these dons in the transfer window. David Dein knew that, and he therefore wanted to bring in KSE as a bank. So what KSE would do was give Arsenal money, 200 million, and they would then spend that money however they wanted to, and they would pay off interest to KSE. That was the business idea. Peter Hillwood, unfortunately, didn't want that idea. He wasn't happy with it for whatever reason. He decided to reject it. David Dein decided to leave. He sold his shares to Usmanov. KSE eventually bought shares. They looked into the projects. They see David Dein leave. They see an opportunity for a self-sustainable business model. And they was like, oh, this is a good opportunity. They come in. They bought their shares from ITV. They bought their shares from a few other people that was in. And then the last person they bought their shares from, Peter Hillwood. Peter Hillwood. When they bought the shares from Peter Hillwood, you got to think, why did Peter Hillwood sell the shares to KSE when you rejected David Dein's business proposal to bring KSE in as the financial powerhouse? It doesn't make any sense. The only conclusion I come to on that basis was Peter Hillwood was running out of time. Unfortunately, God bless his soul. He was running out of time and he got desperate and he had to sell his shares to the person that was the first one on the market, and that was KSE. KSE come on the market, they took in Peter Hillwood shares, and the only other person that would have been involved in Arsenal at the time would have been Usmanov, the person that David Dein sold his shares to, the red and white company. Stan Kroenke became the majority shareholder around 2010, 2011. Within a space of 1 year, he approached Usmanov and said, my friend, get the fuck out of this club. Now, let's take things to 2009, 2010, when Arsene Wenger officially signed his contract. Around that period, what happened to Arsenal then? Players were getting sold. Every single player was getting sold. Why? Because the debt. Yeah, the debt was too much. Arsenal, their finances were all over the place. They needed help. They needed KSE to come in and save them. They needed it. So when we signed Mikel Arteta, we signed Per Mertesacker, we signed these type of dons, after sacrificing Nasri, Fabregas, Adebayor, literally all of those young gems that we had, Heleb, we sacrificed every single one of them. And then we brought in Mertesacker. We brought in Mikel Arteta. We brought in some dead players that we thought, hold on, why are we signing these guys for? I'll tell you why we're signing these guys, because Arsenal's got no money. We finally see Arsenal get battered by Manchester United. Yeah, 8-2. Absolutely battered. KSE was sitting there thinking, fucking hell, this can't go on for much longer. Usmanov, get in here now, blood. You big fat Russian, yeah? I need your shares. I need them. Sell them. Usmanov rejected. Usmanov rejected in 2012. He rejected. Now you do the timeline. You look at Arsenal from 2012 up until 2018. You look at the timeline. Yeah? Our budgets were being spent on one player and one player only nearly every single season up until Arsene Wenger left. We were only signing one player, and anything else that come through the door was either a freebie, a fucking undeveloped Rob Holding, Callum Chambers, some dead Lucas Perez. The reason why we were signing that is because we couldn't increase the financial operation. because Usmanov didn't want to sell. And if we would have increased the financial operation, it means that Usmanov's stake in the business would have increased. So therefore, when we try and buy him out, it means we've got to spend more money to buy him out. Why would we do that? It doesn't make any sense for us to do that. So until Usmanov decides to come to KSC and say, all right, I'm ready to sell my shares now, Arsenal are going to suffer. And the only way we're going to be able to keep our head above water is if we keep Arsene Wenger here. And that's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. You really think Arsene Wenger wanted to stay here all this time? Arsene Wenger probably would have been done in 2012. If they would have decided that Usmanov was going to sell his shares in 2012, Arsene Wenger might have walked then. But Arsene Wenger couldn't walk until these men sort out their differences. The differences is KSC are the majority shareholder, and this fat Russian doesn't want to leave. You really think Wenger got sacked? You really think they sacked Arsene Wenger? Put the dots together. Put the dots together for me now, A9. Arsene Wenger was here for this length of time because he was responsible, he was liable for the stadium debt. When did the stadium debt get cleared? It got cleared shortly after Arsene Wenger left. Why did it get cleared after Arsene Wenger left? Why did it get cleared after Arsene Wenger left? Why did the stadium debt get cleared whilst Arsene Wenger was here? Why? Because KSC's objective was to clear the stadium debt. They were going to take on that responsibility of clearing the stadium debt. But the only way they could do that is by getting Usmanov out the door. Arsene Wenger wasn't sacked. He was set to leave when the stadium debt was cleared. Once the stadium debt was cleared, it was inevitable that Arsene Wenger left. Anyway, finally someone says it wax. There we go, man. People are trying to hate on Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger was a genius. We are where we are today because of Arsene Wenger. If it wasn't for Arsene Wenger, Arsenal would not be in this position. Mikel Arteta wouldn't have had the luxury of spending 600+ million just on players in 4 fucking years. Thanks to Arsene Wenger. Blood, sweat, and tears. That's what we call it. Blood, sweat, and tears.